Hello and welcome everyone to week 5 of the Tournament of Stars. My name is Zane. This is Div C, FJRD Blocked and Muted versus 2D20 Scallywags. My name is Zane, and we will be bringing you the Tournament of Stars action. Similarly, over on the main channel, we have Luscious Balzac broadcasting FJRD. Where are they here? GNX versus FJRD Declassified in Division D. So plenty of mech action coming out at you guys. Looks like Bumblebee 2118 is going to be taking the 1v1 for Blocked and Muted, whereas Trayer will be taking the 1v1 for the Scallywags. As always, the first drop of the Tournament of Stars is a series of 1v1 and 2v2 duels. The 1v1 will be in the Direwolf Trial mech. It's an 100-ton mech. It has LBX-5s and a second range weapon that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that we will see once we get into match. The 2v2s are an Assault and a Medium on Liao Jungle, and a Medium and a Light on Steiner Coliseum. FJRD Blocked and Muted finds themselves in second place with 65 points going into week 5. The 2D20 Scallywags are in fourth with 53 points. But it's worth noting that this division has been an absolute slugfest. While Aces Wild is technically in first with 75 points, they have played one more game than everyone else in the division, and this is their bye week. Everybody else is playing their fourth and final match, and even with Aces Wild's extra game, there's only a 14-point difference between first and fifth place. Additionally, and part of why I think this div has just been such a slugfest, pretty much everybody has beaten everybody else. No team is undefeated, and it's not uncommon for the would-be favorites to drop a game to a lower team or lower ranked team in this particular division. Yeah, Blocked and Muted, and basically anyone, if they win a decisive victory here, can secure the initial first place. But again, with 14 points, 24 points between first and fifth, and 14 points between second and fifth, it's really anybody's match. And anybody's tournament. Looks like the players are just speculating whether or not they actually need to call locked. They still do need to call lock for the 1v1s and the 2v2s, despite it being ready to go. And we are launching into match. Get into it. So this first match is on Laurel Reach. Game mode is skirmish, because again, these honor duels are very much in keeping with the clan format. For the clan lore, Bear and Bumblebee will have 12 minutes to beat the ever-living tar out of each other, and frankly, if it takes more than 5, I will be very impressed. You can see both of them in the Trial Direwolf Bravo. Let's just get a double check on that build that I was not remembering. It's 5 LB5s and 2 ER PPCs. Both teams just sort of advancing up. With the hills, I don't know that they can actually see each other yet. We're going to just sort of hover over the midpoint here. Both teams starting to pick up the hill. Trayer with the first shot catches Bumblebee, trading very, very well, fairly even. Both teams got open. It looks like Bumblebee's actually been opened in one of his torsos. Let's just take a quick peek here. Yeah, he's lost an arm, which has lost him one of the PPCs. Meanwhile, Terror Also lost a part. Gonna try to get. Looks like he's lost an arm. Still firing back. Yeah, he's lost a couple of the PVC or a couple of the LBXs. I'm going to put a slight advantage on Bumblebee just because of the crit advantage that comes with having LBXs with all of these open components. Check on his HP in a minute here. Both teams just sort of infiltrating away. Go up. And Bear will pick up the win. Damage stats in a moment. That'll be 1 point for the Scallywags. Now note the duels are considered one drop as far as the point scoring goes. The Chair with 544 damage, Bumblebee with 385. The team that wins the majority of the duels will get an extra point for winning drop 1, meaning that there's 6 points available per drop. Now we are off to the jungle for the 2v2. So yeah, that match was, I'm going to say, demonstrative of the sort of mid-range slugfest that Trial Dire Wolf wants to get into. It's also worth noting, taking a brief aside at this point, if you're not an already invested MechWarrior online player, the trial mechs have gotten a whole lot better since, honestly, I think the last time I certainly looked at them, or anyone really has, over the past 6 months or so of patches, they have gone through and been updating and tweaking the trial mech builds. Not only that, they have skills now, which makes them a lot more attractive to newer players. As we go into the 2v2, screen. We go into the 2v2, teams are bringing an assault and a medium. I'm probably expecting either 150 or 145 tons. I'm expecting some sort of 100-ton Stone Rhino and either a Beagle, Shadowcat, maybe a Huntsman. Hard to say. Great Dive and Pericrone coming in for 2d20. Noblest and Andy 5689 coming in for FJRD. And 2d20 has locked in at 150 tons. Again, my assumption is Stone Rhino plus Vapor Eagle. Although I think the Nova is an option. How many tons the Nova is off the top of my head. FJRD is locked in at 145. I'm gonna guess that that's the 100-tonner and the Shadowcat. Get into match. As we load in here, I just want to put a thank you shout out to Mr. Bear for coming up with this tournament and the MWO Comp admins for organizing and letting it all work. Fair enough, I was right. Dive in the Stone Rhino 4 and Parry in the Huntsman packet. So it'll be SRMs on the packet. Not sure what dives can be bringing on. The other one, Andy in the Dire Wolf Alpha, bringing 5 Ultra 2s and 3 Ultra 4s. And Noblesse getting an early pop with that Shadowcat. I'm going to guess that that's AP Goss and Plasma. Oh, AP Goss and an AC 10 on that Shadowcat. Meanwhile, Dive in the Stone Rhino, firing away with 4 AC 10s and 2 Plasma Cannons, and just confirm, although I think we saw earlier, Parry, yep, in fact, with the SERMs. Both teams starting straight away. Noblesse taking the worst of it as we sort of fight around the central hill here. Those CERMs really do hurt on something as skinny as the Shadow Cat, but Dive has taken a fair bit of damage, and judging from the orange damage number, he's probably pretty low on one of his various components. Check it here. Taking a lot of attention from Andy. Still... Oh, he's lost a torso, which lost him 2 of his plasma cannons. Andy is getting beat up and focused by Parry and Dive. Both side torsos open. The SRM should be able to rip that off. That's 1 down. He's down to 3 Ultra 2s. Other one goes down, but Dive is very much beat to heck. Yeah. No armor open. Parry eats a leg and then loses the... Oh, CT'd out. My bad. We have a very beat up Noblesse versus a very beat up Stone Rhino. If Noblesse can get the peaks here, I think matches in their advantage just because of the mobility cap. But this map doesn't really have the terrain you would want to play that sort of ring around the rosy. Get a look at their paper doll here. Open torso and arm. Whereas Dive is not open anywhere else, but lost an arm. Generally speaking, I like 2 AC-10s and a plasma cannon more than I like the AP Goss here. Oh, but Dive's open torso now. Meanwhile, looks like he took something off Noblest. Yeah, oh, he's down to just the AC-10. So firepower and, I'm going to say HP advantage in Dive's favor. Both teams are going to trade away with the AC-10s. Dive gets the dirt, Noblest jumps away. Fighting in the river. Peeks out. Could be just trying to bait out the ammo. But if that's the case, then Dive has an energy weapon. Noblest doesn't. Very toasted torso on CT on Dive. Open right CT on Noblest. Teams just circling around each other, trying to get those elusive picks. Another shot. Hit. Gonna be peeking around the corner. Dive doesn't quite see it. Noblest's gonna jump up. Doesn't find the angle. Still cherry red on that torso. Turning around. Comes up and over. Noblest again, twisting away a lot of that damage very, very well. Meanwhile, Dive. Orange CT, lighter orange left torso. Noblest still with that same bright orange torso. Dive starting to jet around. This has got to be nerve-wracking for these pilots, playing the sort of peeky pokey jumpy game. Plasma cannon shell finds its mark. Twisting away to those damage components. No, the way the game tracks damage, if you hit a already destroyed component, a lot of the damage gets absorbed before it transfers through. You can see both these players trying to shield with their damage components. And Noblesse will pick up Dive in the end. Bringing us 2-1. Look at those damage numbers. Yeah. 400 damage apiece coming out. Almost 500 damage coming out of Noblesse. 406 damage for Andy. 576 for Dive, and 360 for Parry. So the duel and thus drop one will come down to the Steiner Coliseum fight. This will be any medium and light mix the pilots feel like bringing. Swapped. And we are off to Steiner Coliseum. Very intense match there in the second duel. Bring us back to the scoreboard there. Teams looking at 2 points apiece. So this one is for all the proverbial marbles. Leaf and Stuff You Fear, aka Stuffy, coming in for 2d20. Can't see who's coming in for FJRD quite yet. Waiting on Noblesse to get everyone invited. And it looks like it's going to be Eco Ninja and Artillery Hamster coming in for Blocked and Muted. I'm expecting to see Warthogs, especially here on Steiner Coliseum. Oh, that's my bad. Should be first person only. Note, we would have seen if either team opted to use that, because you can actually see the drone deploy. So we know at least neither teams were cheating. As we get in. Artillery Hamster and Eco Ninja looking at 80 tons. Warthog in a packet, maybe? We'll see if that's what they're going to run as they call locked, when they call locked. With how open Steiner Coliseum is and how fast mediums and lights tend to be, I'm not suspecting a ranged deck as Eco Ninja locks up, although we did see in one of the lower div games casted earlier today by yours truly, a pack or a huntsman with Proto 2s putting quite a bit of work as sort of a ranged Daka mech. But let's get into Duel 3. Both teams sitting on 2 points. This one is for all the proverbial marbles of the duel. Looks like FJRD going with an Adder Prime, although that may have the Warthog components and a Shadowcat, I think. Check when that out. And the Black Liner and the Adder coming out for 2d20. Might be a Stormcrow, I'm not 100% on. No, it is a Shadowcat. An AC-10 and 6 AP Gauss on the Shadowcat for FJRD. 14 AP Gauss and a medium laser for Eco Ninja on that Warthog, and then jumping quickly over to the 2d20 side. We have Stuff You Fear firing off what looks to be AP Gauss. Leaf going with Laser Vomit, 4 Small Pulse, and 6 Micro Pulse on that Black Lantern. And Stuffy with just the 14 AP Gauss on that Warthog. Decent firing position here. While both teams have fired off a couple of alphas at each other, nobody, aside from Leaf just now to run low, takes and has taken any damage. A little bit of scratch damage on the 2d20 side now coming up. Both these teams do seem to want to brawl. I think the slight advantage goes to Artillery Hamster in the mid-range fight, as Leaf is hanging right off to the side. Just going to drop the minimap so we get a better view of the action. Stuffy still poking around those high towers. Leaf takes another poke from Eco Ninja. Looks like the FJRD backing right into that corner, and 2d20 kind of holding the ruins here, taking a lot of trade damage. The longer this goes on, the easier the eventual brawl will be for FJRD, as 2d20 will just have less armor to chew through in these sort of mid-range fights. Echo Ninja takes a fair bit of poke damage there, but I don't know that sustainable. Killer Hamster pushes up. Both teams just sort of dancing around their various objectives. 2d20 has the cover, so as soon as they break, they will be open pickings for Artillery Hamster in that Shadowcat as he jumps up, looking to see if maybe they're on the high ground. Yep, they do. Looks like they're pulling the trigger. Stuffy going in. Leaf, they're splitting. Looks like Echo Ninja is the target. Trying to trade armor as they push up. Leaf gets right in on Echo Ninja, taking a lot of damage there. They're focusing fire on his right arm. Yeah, loses the side torso, and in doing so loses a lot of his DPS. Only got 3 small pulse lasers now. Stuffy the called target. Isolated away. Those warthogs are rather fragile. Oh, but they get the leg and the kill on Echo Ninja. Will it be enough? Stuffy looking very toasty. Gets CT'd out. Leaf has got 3 lasers and a lot of damage. And that Shadowcat is fresh. Leaf manages to pull this out. It's going to take a bit of a miracle. Dancing around the vent, I guess. And that'll be the core out. Still a very, very close set of duels. Blocked and muted, picking up 5 points in the duels, and 2d20 picking up 3. Our artillery hamster getting a lot of damage out of that Shadowcat with 441. But 2d20 very efficiently able to pick up Echo Ninja with both Leaf and Stuffy held to under 200. So now we jump into the the first of the Star v Star or 5v5 drops as we go to Conquest mode now. First drop will be on the Crimson Strait, and we're up to a 15-minute match time. The first drop will be 200 tons. The second will be 275, and those will be the 2 drops contested on Crimson Strait. As we move into the 375 and 450 ton drops, those will be contested on the Polar Highlands. Now, it's worth noting that what was I going to say? Right, at 200 tons, you tend to see a lot of brawl, mostly because with an average tonnage of 40, it's fairly hard to justify committing the sort of higher tonnages that you would need to make a range deck work to the very, very fast decks you can get if you run just 40 times, or the various sort of speed brawl decks you can get when the 2 max are within about 5, or when the 5 max are all within 5-10 tons of each other. There's stuff like the Adders, Shadowcats, although you tend to save those for scouts, Novas. There's lots of very, very fast, light brawl mechs. That can make a range mech cry, especially with 200 tons. You are very likely the only range mech on your team. UD20 currently hovering at 190 tons. They will have to be the first one to lock, although mechs can change up until that lock is called. As I mentioned before, this entire division is realistically within 20-30 points of each other, so this is still very much anyone's division, and we won't know for sure the final standings until tomorrow, when the gear and DPS teams face off. But a strong showing from FJRD here. If they can pull, well, the 24 remaining points out, they would put themselves in a very, very strong position. Similarly, if 2d20 can pull off 24 points, that may very well catapult them into a fairly secure hold on first place. At the end of the stream, we will take a minute and go through the math and see just how many points need to be spread out. 2D20 locking in a little light at 190 tons. This makes me think the boys on the C team, or the A team rather, have something special cooked up for us. There's a strat that we saw the Raven Irregulars pull off earlier today, where from the Team 1 side, they pushed right to the saddle in an attempt to sort of pinch Team 2 as they pushed across to get to the theta point, which is the only valid point for Crimson Strait. So I'm curious to see what'll happen as we launch into match. So yeah, as you can see, the theta point over here, this is the single valid cap point for the tournament format. Look at those rosters. So we have 3 adders, a Viper, and a Shadowcat coming out from 2D20. Get a look at the builds here. We've got light machine guns and beam lasers coming out for Trare in that Shadowcat. Stuffy in the adder at 14 AP Goss. That's probably the exact same one that he just ran in the 2v2. Plato in that Viper with ER Meads and light machine guns. Leaf in the adder with 14 AP Goss, and Dive in the same. We have a very similar deck, just with slightly different mechs, coming out from FGRD. They're bringing their legendary scale shot, so burning that legendary early for Noblest, and then they've got Echo Ninja in the Shadowcat. Again, the same AC10 AP Goss build that they were running in the duel. They have Commander Chad J Battletech in the Adder with the AP Goss and a medium pulse. Artillery Hamster in that Shadowcat. Again, the same AC10 build we saw earlier. And Andy in the Warthog with a heavy small laser rather than the medium pulse and 14 AP guns. Looks like TD20 didn't go for that sort of advanced pick that I was talking about. Instead, pushing right up. Terror taking advantage of those beam lasers, just get some scratch damage in on FGRD, as Plato, it looks like, goes for the tap. Looks like FGRD is going to respond by pushing up on Terror, who very smartly rotates right away back towards his main tonnage. GD20 now taking up defensive positions in and around cap point as FGRD decides how they want to push across this particular mess. UAV is going up everywhere, but nobody shooting just yet. Noblest and the rest of FGRD are going to go use the buildings here for cover and push up. They're, again, using those beam lasers to just get as much free damage as you can. And it looks like the TD20 squad is going to form up to receive. Noblest going in first in that scale shot. The rest of FGRD piles in. Interesting to see how the focus target TD20 rotates away. More fire on Noblest. They're not committing to him, but he is definitely their preferred target. Artillery Tamster jumps up, takes a fair chunk of damage himself on that burn. Noblest again pushed up. Plato and Stuffy getting the fire now, as Bear is just feasting with these beam lasers. The longer 2D20 can sort of play this S-key keep away game, the more value he's going to get out of those lasers as Noblest gets opened up. Andy now, being the lead mech, takes a lot of damage coming in, but Plato not looking much better. Still a lot of very healthy percentages on the 2D20 side and some very beat up mechs. Not very, some beat up mechs on the FGRD side. Andy again pushing right up. Looks like Plato is going to be FGRD's preferred target. He's taking a lot of damage, and Plato goes down to the focus fire. Echo Ninja pushes up. He had to sneak up to get the kill on Plato. Now Tear is the called target. He's picked out here. That's not going to be good for 2D20. Yep, he is picked up by Commander Chad in that adder. There goes the big advantage from 2D20. They're down 2 max, but they're relatively fresh. Stuffy picks up Noblest as the fight breaks up. Looks like Dive is going to try to 1v2. Stuffy picks up Commander Chad, firing away. Echo Ninja now the call target as Dive just tries to body block and keep Andy and Artillery Hamster out of the fight. 3v3. Stuff got the killer instinct. He's pushing up. Sees Echo Ninja firing away on Dive. Gonna rock up with those AP Gauss and just remind him why adders are a good mech. Takes him down. Andy now legged, taken out by Dive. Artillery Hamster is going to be the last target. He's going to try to take down Dive before it goes down, secure his team the extra point, and no, opened up, but isn't able to get the damage. Starts fighting away. Dive now playing carefully and picks up the kill. Very, very smart S-key play from 2D20 to pick up the 5 points. 2 in drop 2. Now, I want to see just how much damage Terror was able to pull out of that. 341. Not as high as I was expecting. I was expecting something closer to the performance we saw out of Artillery Hamster or the Great Dive. Sort of that 400 to 500, but really do think the scratch damage on the trip in was instrumental in picking up that fight. Get the team swapped up here. Now, I have said repeatedly and ceaselessly, and no, I will not shut up about this. The 275-ton drop, which is the drop that we're going into now, is my favorite tonnage in this tournament. It has, to my mind, the best mix of possible strategies. It's light enough that there's some mechs that we don't normally see getting play, which is always good to see. And yeah, I like a tonnage where speed, brawl, DACA, and range all feel equally viable. Now, I'm going to assume that most of our viewers here are fairly invested in MWO and are coming from the Discord that I'm about to shill. But if you've stumbled across this screen and you're either new to MechWarrior Online or you're new to MWO Comp, I highly recommend going to the MWO Comp Discord, which is linked in the title cards underneath this stream. If whether you're a unit that's looking to get into competitive play or you're a pilot who wants to sort of see what all this nonsense is about, or you just want to get better at the game, period. There's channels in there that'll help you do pretty much anything you need. Team 1 has locked up. We're just waiting on 2D20 to call locked before we get into match. Looks like FJRD has locked at the full 275. Could be we see Orions. Could be we see Sunspiders. There's a lot of different mechs we could see at the best drop. And looks like 2D20 has locked up. We are getting into match. In case it wasn't clear from the name, Tournament of Stars is a clan tech only tournament. Why we haven't seen any non-clan mechs. And the name is actually a bit of a lore reference as well. The star is the clan's sort of organizational unit, and it's 5 mechs. 5v5 tournament, a tournament where stars of mechs fight each other. Yeah, it's all there. And of course, both teams are stars in my heart. So FJRD running quad Ice Ferret and an Executioner. That's some spice. That's a spicy meatball. We're looking at builds here. Check the Executioner first. Executioner running 4 small pulse, 9 ER micros, a micro pulse, and 2 beam lasers. At least one of the Ice Ferrets is running 2 heavy machine guns and 10 micro pulse. I imagine that's going to be a pretty standard build. Heavy machine gun micro pulse, heavy machine gun micro pulse, and heavy machine gun micro pulse coming out from FJRD. 2D20 running 3 Black Lanners, an Ice Ferret, and a linebacker. We've got Stuffy in the Ice Ferret running 2 heavy machine guns, 10 large pulse, or 10 micro pulse. Dive in the Black Lanner with 4 small pulse, 7 micro pulse. Leaf with 4 and 6. And let me just check on Plato as 2D20 goes for a bit of a tunnel push. Plato, get back here. Which is scouted out by FJRD. I'm going to have to just let the hitboxes be hitboxes as the teams go for the tunnel push. And bringing up the rear, Perry in a linebacker, which we will actually zoom in and try to get the build of. I apparently just can't click today. 2D20 backing out of the tunnel. And Perry running Flamer and Cerms on their linebacker. FJRD looks like Commander Chad J. Battletech is going to be the called target as Stuffy squirrels right in and gets the main body of FJRD turned around so that the main body of 2D20 can get in, and Noblesse is the called target. He's got 4 mechs on him now. Only now just getting support from Andy as they dive back in. Dive going into share armor. That's 1 leg off Noblesse. And the other leg is open, and he is down. That is a lot of firepower off the board for FJRD. As the fight continues, Dive now the called target for FJRD, as he will actually self-destruct, probably an overheat. Perry now hunting down Echo Ninja, as CD20 struggling to find a bit of cohesion, lots of spread damage. Looks like Rescue Perry is going to be the call. Going for Echo Ninja? Yeah, Echo Ninja. They're chasing him down the straightaway, as Perry then gets in on Andy, trying to make use of that flamer. Echo Ninja now gets legged. He's going to go down to Stuff You Fear. Perry will get picked up by Artillery Hamster on the back half of the fight, who is now the called target for 2D20. Ice Ferrets, those machine guns can do a lot of DPS very, very quickly. He gets legged. Plato firing away in that Black Lantern. Both legs down. Artillery Hamster down. Stuff You Fear gets legged in return, and Andy is the called target, takes a leg as well. Going to go down very quickly as Stuffy goes down. It's a 1v2. Plato and Leaf versus Commander Chad J. Battletech. Ice Ferrets versus Black Lantern. Being very brave fight if Commander Chad can pull this off. There's a lot of pinpoint damage coming out of those Lanterns, but the Ice Ferret does have a fair bit of DPS. He's running away now. Takes a lot of damage to the legs from those lasers. Let's see if we can get his paper doll up in a second here. Yeah, he's lost 1 leg. His other leg is open but cooked. As Leaf now coming into body block for Plato, trying to minimize the score. Open leg, he is taken out. Plato's still alive. Stops his override so that he doesn't overheat. And that's going to be another very, very close fight. 5-3 win for the Scallywags. Rallying from their kind of rough performance in the duels to pick up both of these brawls. Now let's have a look at these damage numbers. The big thing that I think won it for 2D20 there was Stuffy being able to squirrel away the Ice Ferret squad of FJRD and leave Noblesse sort of exposed. You can see they held that Executioner, which is a lot of DPS for this team, to 158 damage. And we're looking at, pretty solid damage numbers across the board. Stuffy, obviously, with the lower damage numbers, but when you're squirreling that hard, it's sometimes not the easiest to remember to shoot. And let's get back into the lobby as we head to the Polar Highlands for drop 4. And Captain Judas, my favorite kind of pizza is, well, admittedly, I don't eat meat anymore, but the sort of generic meat lovers you get at pretty much every pizza place is probably my favorite. As we head off to Polar Highland. Wait, 2D20 should be, never mind, 2D20 should be Team 1. That one's my bad. That one is my bad, folks. As I said previously, this is the 270 or 375 ton drop. But before we get to the particulars of that drop, I do just want to take a moment to shout out the next tournament that these teams will be playing in, which is the Championship Series. Unlike every other tournament that is player run, this one is actually put on by Piranha Games. So it'll be run in client through the competitive queue option. 8v8, 5-point conquest. And even if you're not an A team and you can't get those sweet top 12 rewards, if you play, last year it was 40 games, I believe this year it's going to be 60, you can get yourself some very nice rewards for simply participating in the comp queue. So that's always fun. Definitely something worth doing. And again, if you need a team, hey look, there's Discord right there, down in the channel cards. You click on it. 2D20 sitting at 370 tons of their available 375. We'll see what the teams lock in as. Team 1 has locked at 370. Again, given the relative lack of clan mechs, especially compared to their Inner Sphere counterparts, it's not uncommon to see teams drop locking a little light. Because often there isn't a mech at the exact right tonnage that does what the deck may want it to do. Again, the example that I always give is in drop 5, which is 450 tons max, we tend to see 445 be a more common drop weight because that's 4 100 tonners and a Shadow Cat. Which makes an excellent scout. But we'll see what the teams are bringing at 375. Speed Brawl is an option, like Gargoyles and Executioners. Very much a possibility. The Orion 2C is also very quick and very tanky for its tonnage. It's only, like, it's 75 tons, and it moves shockingly fast for a 75-ton pick. And who doesn't love LB20s? Teams load in here. Now, Kappa, this point way over here, is our valid point for this map. We've seen a lot of sort of 500-meter DACA push and a lot of range trading on this map because, as you can see, there's a pretty big dearth of vertical cover, so there's no, crags to hide under as teams push into each other, and it's very easy for teams to kill peek and trade confidently. Coming in for 2D20, we have that exact sort of DACA deck that I was describing for Sunspider Deltas and a Moonwalker. I believe that's the Moonwalker. The Mad Cat. Oh, Deathstrike with... So Deathstrike is running pure range with 2 Gauze and 4 ER Larges. The Sunspiders, however, are all running 4 Ultra 2s on the Sunspider Delta. Meanwhile, we have a actually kind of similar coming out from FJRD. We have a trio of Mad Cats, with the Bravo running 4 AC5s and 2 Plasma Cannons. Bumblebee 2118 running the same build on the same mech, and Noblest bringing 2 Gauze and 4 ER Larges on the Mad Cat 1. Then we have a light pack of Andy 5689 in the Hellfire 2, running 2 Heavy Larges and 4 ER Meads, sort of a laser vomit build. And Artillery Hamster once again bringing out that Shadowcat. I don't have an exact count, but I believe that's the last one FJRD can bring. You are in fact limited to 4 of any given chassis. So Andy gonna see get spotted by TD20. It's actually Artillery Hamster taking the lion's share of the damage of the Eaton Arty Strike. Basically, they poke their heads onto the cap point, and 2D20 gives them a resounding no with all of that ranged firepower. And the blue laser's coming out. They've taken up pretty standard defensive positions and sort of range trading positions. So if the 2 Madcat Bravos from FCRD can get into range, they can try to trade back with those AC5s and Plasma Cannons. But as it stands, the only mech that really wants to be at this range on the FCRD side is Noblest in that Madcat. His dive peeks around the corner here. And Andy peeking around, not even trying the corner with the cap point, and Big Bob and Bumblebee taking a fair bit of damage. Noblest firing back. Looks like he picked up PCG. But again, when you've got 5 mechs that want to be trading at this range versus 1 mech that wants to be trading at this range, really hard to justify. Although, looking at the percentages, actually, it's about even, actually. I was going to say it looks like it's maybe going in FJRD's favor, but with Andy taking a fair bit of trade here that FJRD really can't trade back. The airstrike's coming in. Big Bob going to be the primary focus in that Mad Cat. No real damage to be concerned about, but definitely lost a fair bit of armor. Bumblebee now pushing up to the front, trying to share. That's a smart thing to do if you have to take a long push into a range trade like that. You want to rotate out whichever mech's in front, because even the most disciplined teams will generally end up shooting whichever mech is standing in front of them. But it looks like they're going to get forced to back off. Noblest is trading pretty well. He's at 90%. Whereas the rest of 2D20 is happily trading away on the far side. Neither team moving, but it looks like Dive is peeking up, trying to force Noblest off the hill, I would guess. And Plato has gotten opened up. Just check which one is Plato and where he's taken that extra damage. The game's worried about him. Oh, push has started up again. Andy now in the lead, but Bumblebee taking the lion's share of the damage. Problem is the route they've taken, well, it shields them from a lot of the 2D20 firepower. There's nobody over there. Like, you're going to have to push up into the 2D20 guns, and you're just trying to find the narrowest funnel in which to do so. The other thing is that Dive is threatening this cap point, keeping Hamster from being able to call it, as Bumblebee and Andy start their push up again. They're going to get spotted out by Plato on the side. Drop that as... Yeah, it looks like Bumblebee is the called target. Oh, Fair lose anything? No, he's just opened up. This is probably a much more favorable range for the FGRD traders, though. But Big Bob now being the called target as Dive is sparring with Hamster. Oh, and Andy rotates over. They may try to catch out Dive here. And Andy sees him. He wants it. Dive is at 62%. Andy at 75. Oh, down to 57. Kappa is being contested. Oh, and Dive is open CT. He cannot peek this anymore. In fact, gets picked up by the Hellfire. Nice shooting for Andy. They're able to get the point, which means now 2d20, if they want to do anything, has to push. You can see Perry and Plato rotating around the corner, seeing if they can continue farming the FJRD side, as it looks like TCG is taking up Dive's position, contesting the point. Noblesse is still way under the hill here, hill peeking, as Big Bob is taking a lot of fire. A lot of open components, but Perry is kind of trading solo at the minute. Andy pokes up and gets a very nice burn. Oh, change of targets now. Both the Sun Spiders firing on, I'm gonna guess, Noblesse. Hamster pokes up. The teams group up. Meanwhile, it looks like Terror has been called down in that Mad Cat. I'm guessing because he's taken worrying damage somewhere. Yeah, open CT. Will be on 2d20's ability to get chip damage and map rotations as Plato is running. They're going to get caught out by at least 3, possibly 4 members of FGRD. Sees Artillery Hamster and starts firing. I think Andy is the one he has to worry about. He takes a laser burn but fires right back. That is a very low Hellfire. As Bumblebee now steps up. Andy steps up again. Open torso, very weak in the CT, but Plato gets picked up by the Mad Cat. 3v5. Teams firing away. Perry now open. Terra not looking much better, and PCG also orange. Bumblebee is going to lead the charge, but Andy's poking up. Perry's selling that spider as dearly as they can. Goes down to Big Bob as Andy takes down Trare. It's on TCG, who's engaging Noblesse, but Artillery Hamster's looking for the flank. And that'll be the end of the Sun Spider reign on 2d20. Artillery Hamster firing away. 5-0 for FJRD. I said this division was going to be a bit of a slugfest. Wasn't expecting this degree of slugfest. Here we are. Teams dead even with 16 points for FJRD and 15 points for 2d20 going into drop 5. I don't even know who's technically won the match at this point. We have a quick look at the damage numbers for those of you that care. Don't even know who's technically winning the match on drops at this point. Points wise, is what matters in this tournament. 50-50. It is in fact we are in fact literally all tied up going into the final match. So this will be 450 tons here on the Polar Highlands. FJRD reclaiming Team 1. Oh, this will be exciting. $450 on the table. As I've said before, I normally would expect 400 tonners in the Shadowcat. Obviously, FJRD can't run that because I believe they have burned all their Shadowcats. Although, don't quote me on that. Obviously, go check. Looks like they're swapping out their players or somebody's hitting the mech lab. Teams do have up to 5 minutes between drops. You hit the mech lab. You don't need to stay in match even if you're playing in the next drop. You can jump in and out. This final match will be for all the marbles. Now, so taking a look at the division, maybe with the teams tied up the way they are, this is still 100% anyone's division. Although both, no, 2D20 has put themselves in second. FJRD has overtaken Aces, or put themselves in third for 2D20. FJRD will have overtaken Aces Wild. As Noblest locks up at 445, 2D20 hovering the same. Imagine we're going to see a quick locked from Dive. Yeah, let's get into our fourth and final match. All right. And we head back over to Kappa. Have a look at the point that's going to cause all of the bloodshed that we're going to see in the preceding match. So TD20 has burned all their Sun Spiders, but again, with the 450 tons, both teams are probably bringing Stone Rhino of some description. Also, fun fact, you can see the Leopard dropships from the spectator view before the teams load in, although there are no burner effects until the teams have finished. All right, so for blocked and muted, we have more direwolves than I was expecting, but we have Noblest, Artillery Hamster, and Andy in direwolves of various flavors, and Bumblebee in the Stone Rhino, Echo Ninja in that Shadowcat. Just get the gear read on them. AC-10 Apigos, the same build we have seen them run pretty much every time. Noblest in the Ultraviolet with the Ultra AC2s. Artillery Hamster with 4 Ultra 2s and 2 Ultra 5s in the Direwolf Charlie. Andy with 5 Ultra 2s and 3 Ultra 5s in the Direwolf Alpha. And Bumblebee with 8 Ultra 2s in the Axum. On the 2D20 side, we have, in fact, 4 Stone Rhinos of various flavors. And the Shadowcat, we have Plato in the Stone Rhino 1 with 4 AC-10s and 2 Plasma Cannons. We have Dive in the 4, presumably running the same build. I believe that's actually the same mech that he ran in the duels. Yep. Leaf running 4 AC-10s and 2 Plasma Cannons, and then TCG with 4 Ultra 2s and 4 Ultra 5s in the Axum. And let's just check Terr's Shadowcat build here. 7 light machine guns and 2 beam lasers, same one we saw earlier. Both teams pushing up. Terra probably well positioned to get the early scout here. Looks like Echo Ninja has gotten the quick pickup on the cap. Although with all of those Stone Runners, I imagine 2D20 is just going to tromp their way over there and contest it. They're revealing themselves. Oh, takes a big punch from the Direwolf. 11%, as they were getting maybe a bit greedy trying to get the laser burn off on Echo Ninja. Lots of fire going towards air, looks like. Oh, bit of fire caught TCG in the Axum as well. Plato and TCG start firing against Artillery Hamster in that Direwolf. CD20 advancing on the point, but just sort of firing away here. And Terror is way out in the boonies, trying to get advantage with those beam lasers. Bumblebee, now the called target, takes a lot of fire. Noblesse steps up to try to share armor and is going to get left alone for the most part. Looks like Andy's the one taking the damage. Either that or they still have a line on Bumblebee. Noblesse is able to push right up. Meanwhile, TCG gets cracked in the head. I'm gonna bet. Let me just hop over and get the read there. No, it's their right CT open. It can be very dangerous. As all of 2D20 getting very beat up on the push here. Plato going down to 71. Again with that right CT. Very, very good targeting. As Bumblebee will actually take him out. So high percentages, but given that they're red numbers, it means a lot of open components. You can have a look at Leaf to confirm here. Yeah, no open components on Leaf quite yet, but TCG dealing with that open torso. As Artillery Hamster and Andy push right up. Yeah, TCG going to be the called target on the push. Tear and Dive and Leaf, all trying to reduce the pressure, but Artillery Hamsters got TCG's number. Oh, they're able to trade the mech away. Artillery Hamster disengaging. He actually gets picked up by Dive. It's a point on the board for TD20. As Andy's now the call target. TCG goes down. So the very fresh Noblesse starts to push up. Dive firing away. Noblesse takes a lot of damage. Direwolves are not as tanky as the other mechs, but Leaf gets picked up by Bumblebee, who has picked up Dive. He's got 3 of the 4 kills, with only Andy sneaking away. Echo Ninja now diving in. It's a very beat up Terror left. Will he be able to pick up one more to get the point on the board? He does not. 5-1 for FJRD. Coming back with a bloody nose. Take the game. And the drop. And with 22 points earned, they are not officially out of reach of DPS. DPS will need to get 30 points to beat them. So very, very unlikely. But still possible. As I believe Nova Roma actually pointed out in the chat. So props to them for doing the math first and better. 2D20 earning themselves a total of 16 points. Is going to put them at 74. So just behind Aces Wild and still within reach of Gear. No, sorry, they're at 53. We got 16, so that's 69? Yeah, 69 points. Still very much within the reach of Gear for this division. I have been 07 Sane. This has been Tournament of Stars Week 5, Season 3, Division C. FJRD has practically, though not technically, locked up first place in the division with some very, very pinpoint DACA play. If you head over to the main MW Leagues channel, you can find also of FJRD Luscious Balzac casting GNX versus FJRD Declassified. And then in just under an hour, I will be back here on MechWarrior Leagues 2, bringing what I believe is the final match of the night, which will be QFES Ravagel versus the Metal Gear Squadron in Division H. I will catch you guys around.